All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. Here I have Chris Gurion. He's a ninth grader at CSS, and Dr. Perry Malouf. He is a researcher at Johns Hopkins University. All right, take it away, guys.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, Professor Malouf. So I have some questions for you. Okay. Question 1. Can you tell us more about what a scientific engineer is?
A scientific engineer. Well, it's an interesting term. An engineer, without the scientific in front of it, an engineer is somebody who takes physics and applies it to solve problems, very practical problems. Civil engineers take the physics of structures and materials, and they build roads and buildings and bridges and things like that. Chemical engineers take knowledge of chemistry and apply it to different fields like petroleum engineering, or the people who engineer plastics, or the people who engineer solvents. Sometimes they apply their expertise to industrial processes. An example I can think of is who comes up with the industrial processes for making all that hand sanitizer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So nuclear engineers apply the physics of nuclear interactions to build nuclear reactors from which we derive electricity. So there's many different kinds of engineers, and putting the adjective scientific in front of them, engineers take knowledge from areas of physics and chemistry and apply it to real world problems.
Okay. So for your engineering type, you're an electrical engineer, is that correct?
That's right. Did you read the little dossier that I sent to Colette?
Oh yeah, I read that. Yep.
Good. Good start.
Yeah. Okay, next. So what got you interested in engineering?
I was always interested in the sciences, biological sciences as well. I had fish tanks, I grew plants, but I was also interested in physics, in the solar spectrum, things working with my hands. And I wasn't sure if I was going to go into medicine or be an engineer. In fact, when I entered as a freshman at Columbia University. So my first 2 years, I took all the courses that I needed, requisites for both engineering and medicine. But by the end of my sophomore year, I had to make a decision. I decided to go into engineering because while I found the study of medicine to be very interesting, the practice of medicine was going to be kind of tough. You have to deal with suffering people, and that takes a certain kind of personality. And so I wanted to go more into engineering, where I could sort of focus on the discipline and have to deal with patients.
Nice. I especially like that.
I saw your face light up when I told you I was interested in the biological sciences as well. So did that strike a nerve with you?
Well, no. Well, actually, I'm more struck because, like you said before that you grew fish and plants. Because I'm very interested in that. Because like I used to have a bunch of pet fish, and like just seeing them grow and develop, that was really a highlight of my day.
Fresh water or salt water?
Fresh water.
Much easier. Smart move. I never made it into saltwater tanks myself. Expensive hobby. Even freshwater fish can get expensive sometimes.
Yeah. And also for the plants, because like with Professor Young, I'm doing an experiment that involved the growing of plants.
Yep. Yep.
And what is that experiment exactly? What are you trying to show or find out?
I'm gonna test whether it's better to. So I'm gonna use the same type of plant. I'm gonna test whether it's better to grow with water or seltzer water.
That's very interesting. You know that seltzer water is slightly acidic, right?
Mm-hmm. Just slightly.
Well, it's interesting. I grow some tropical plants now. They're called pitcher plants, actually old world pitcher plants. The genus is Nepenthes, Nepenthes. You can Google it later. And I discovered that I started out not growing them very well. I was really good at killing them. I found out that they like a potting medium that's on the acidic side.
Oh.
If the soil isn't acidic enough, they'll suffer. And there's a whole other stuff in there too. But anyway, yeah, it can be fun and rewarding, especially if you grow plants that you enjoy, you know, orchids or flowers or vegetables, anything that you kind of, a lot of satisfaction when they grow well. When they die, then you're.
Nice. Okay, so Professor Malouf, has anyone in your life ever encouraged you to like become an engineer or specifically an electrical engineer? Has anyone ever encouraged you?
No, I didn't need any encouragement. I had a lot of motivation myself. I just had to make a decision of whether I was going to go into medicine or engineering. I knew it was one of those two. And after I made the decision, it was like full steam ahead.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. Do you need encouragement?
And nah, I'm sort of like that, but I like when people encourage me.
Well, I would encourage you to get an understanding of various kinds of engineering. What I mean is what it's actually like to do the work. Sometimes the work is very glamorous when you read about the final results in the magazine. Doing the works, you know, requires some discipline. You know, in electrical engineering, you need to be proficient at mathematics, for example. There's a lot of, and of course, what comes with math is working with computers. A lot of tools we use, a lot of the mathematical tools have been coded up in computer programs to make so that we can accomplish things faster. So can you imagine sitting at your computer running a computer code for half the day?
And yeah, I can imagine that.
If you're more interested in the outdoors, then you might consider, you know, becoming environmental engineer or something where you actually have to go out a lot. So these are things you have to. So not. I mean, it's one thing. Certainly look at the different things that engineers do, but then see if questions of engineers to see what they actually do at the office every day.
I should.
For that matter, I would say that applies to any discipline. If you want to be an accountant, find out from an accountant what he does in the office every day, besides drink.
Yep. Okay. So why did you choose to major engineering in college?
I think I answered that one. Like I said, between medicine or engineering, and after thinking about it quite a bit, I figured, well, I want to work with, you know, patients coming to my office every day, so I want to sort of do more of the applied science, and that's why I went into engineering.
Nice. Okay, so if you went to Colombia, how did you come to work at Johns Hopkins University?
Hey, you take the best job you can get, right?
Mm.
Look, when I graduated from Columbia, I graduated with 3 degrees in engineering.
Mm.
Back to my home area, which is around Washington, D.C. And, I had 2 or 3 offers. So I took one and started working. And then the working at Johns Hopkins was not the first job I got out of Columbia. I must have worked for 3 different companies, 3 different jobs.
Mm.
Before I finally settled at Hopkins. And all of those jobs were on different projects, and they gave me good experience, good working experience. But the Hopkins job also gives me good work experience, and it's a great place to work. Really, this is probably the best place I've worked of all the other places I've been. So that's how I wound up at Hopkins.
Hmm. So
Now,
wait.
you change jobs. If you have a job,
Okay.
and you're happy there, fine. Stick with it as long as you can. It doesn't hurt while you're working to look around, test the water, see what else is out there. Okay. I mean, I didn't switch jobs because I got fired. You could look around, and you could say I was very lucky that I was able to get this position at the Applied Physics Lab at Johns Hopkins.
Nice. That's good. So you said that before that, like from graduating from Columbia, they gave you job offers?
Columbia didn't give me job offers. No.
Oh.
I was graduating. I graduated from Columbia, and I started looking for jobs. There are several ways you can look for jobs. You can look for jobs through engineering societies, like for electrical engineers. That's the Institute for Electronics and Electrical Engineers, the IEEE. The newspaper. Go to symposia or job fairs that specialize in engineering. I sent resumes out to some companies who have a job listed just because I liked what the company did and I wanted to get in there. So there's lots of people to look for a job. I don't think I used any of Columbia's resources to actually look for a job.
Oh, okay.
But it's a good question. How does one go about looking for a job? It's a very good question.
Okay. So from reading what Professor Young gave me, why did you choose to focus on radio and transmission technology?
Okay. Yeah. As I had written in my little dossier, electrical engineering is a very broad field. Some aspects of electrical engineering deal with different kinds of circuits. Some aspects of electrical engineering deal with what are called digital circuits only, that you use for computers, ones and zeros type of stuff. Then there's analog circuits, which deal with amplifiers. There are aspects of electrical engineering that deal with the power that you use in your house. How does that power from Con Ed get distributed all over the place?
Yeah.
There's aspects of electrical engineering that deal with communication protocols, like the communication protocols that are commonly used in the internet nowadays, formulated at Columbia University when I was a student there. Not by me, of course. So it's a very broad field. And also there's a field called electromagnetics, which with electromagnetic phenomena, electric fields, magnetic fields. And that specialization describes propagation of radio waves, propagation of light, electricity, things like that. I was attracted to it because I was attracted to the theory. It's very elegant, very beautiful. Those equations and some of the other formulations of it. And it was hard. Actually, it was quite difficult. But I was attracted to it. And also, I recognized that formed the foundation of electrical engineering. Not a lot of electrical engineers go into it because it is difficult. And I figured if I went into it, maybe there wouldn't be as much competition then.
So you wanted competition?
I wanted to avoid competition. You can find a lot more communications engineers than you can find electromagnetic specialists. So that translates to, once you find your niche, a lot of people want to use you for that purpose.
Okay.
How good is your math?
Oh, my math is excellent.
Excellent?
Yes.
Christopher's
What
one
have
of
you
our
stud-
top
What
students.
have you studied so far? You've had algebra?
Yep.
You've had
And-
geometry?
Yep.
Okay. No pre-calculus yet?
No, not yet.
It's too early. Okay, that's fine. You'll get there.
Yeah.
You'll get there.
Yeah. Okay. So now I have to ask, how did your projects come to being picked up by NASA?
My project?
Yep.
It's not my project. It's NASA's project. Okay, so I work for the Space Department at the Applied Physics Laboratory. And the Space Department has a whole group of people whose job it is to send proposals to the government. Like the government puts out requests for proposals. We want a spacecraft that's going to go visit, like we need somebody out there to design it. So the Applied Physics Lab sends them a proposal. The Jet Propulsion Lab in California sends them a proposal because they have proposal writers. Maybe Lockheed will send them a proposal, private contractors. We have a whole group of people whose job it is to answer government's requests for proposals. And then if we're lucky and we've done a decent job writing the proposal, mission is given to us. Our proposal is accepted. I don't play a role in that. Okay. In fact, I try to stay away from that because I'm not a business guy.
Okay.
So all I know is that I get some news from a department head. Hey, we won the Messenger proposal, or we won the New Horizons proposal, and then the next 6 years are spent working very hard to build that spacecraft and all the different subsystems and to make sure everything works. So does that answer your question about how that works?
Yeah, it answers. So while being at Johns Hopkins, have you actually done any projects of your own, or that you helped any projects that others have?
I typically have not come up with my own projects. Okay, when you have a project, you have to find somebody who's willing to fund it. So all the work I've done has been on a project that the Space Department has brought in, either from NASA or from the military or something. So I'm always working on a program. I do different things for different programs, but that's what I'm doing. I'm working on a program at any given time. Now, my abilities are recognized outside of the Space Department. I've been asked to work on projects involving a radar for the military.
Mm.
I've been asked to work on projects involving submarines, communications aspects of submarines. So I've done work other than actual space work. All of that work involved electromagnetics. See, electromagnetics can be practiced in all sorts of ways. It doesn't have to be space. It can be, on Earth. It could be radar, things like that. It doesn't have to be for a spacecraft.
Yeah. So these projects that were asked to you, so they only came from like the government and like military, or did they come from other schools?
No, they don't come from other schools. Yes, so that question sort of gets to what is the purpose of the Applied Physics Laboratory. The Applied Physics Laboratory at Johns Hopkins established as a laboratory that was supposed to be a trusted partner to this was back in, I think, in the early 50s. I'm not exactly sure. So the Navy wanted basically a lab of some smart people who could advise them, who could check on the work that some other companies are doing for them to make sure that it's being done right, like that. So as that kind of a lab, our lab would not accept projects coming from other universities. The Applied Physics Lab gets mostly from, I think, exclusively from the government, and then mostly the Space Department gets them from NASA and maybe a few from the military. I don't think the Applied Physics Lab gets any kind of projects from other schools.
Okay.
Now, if you become an engineer and let's say you get a job with Lockheed Martin, the situation would be similar in that Lockheed Martin also writes proposals to answer entities' requests for proposal. Now, most of Lockheed Martin's business, I think, from the government, but they might get private companies who say, hey, we need you guys to design this for us because we don't have that talent in-house. So I work for a university laboratory which was to act as a trusted advisor to the Navy. Companies, other private companies like Boeing or Lockheed Martin or Martin Marietta, places like that. Well, Marietta joined formed Lockheed Martin, but any of the other private companies, basically working on projects that they can bring in, that the company's good at bringing in business, because otherwise they'll lay off everybody, right?
Yeah. Okay, nice explanation. So, Professor Malouf, when you were in Colombia, so did you do anything like in your classes besides engineering or science?
Sure. I don't know what it's like now, but when I went to the school, it had a lot of requirements that you had to take. There was a literature humanities requirement. There was art history. I'm trying to think. Of course, everybody has to take English.
Yeah.
Languages, music. So I took several courses, many courses that were not necessarily science related. And I tell you what, they were a breath of fresh air. If you're an engineering student and most of your classes are calculus, physics, chemistry, maybe computer languages or something, it's really nice to go into an art history class not necessarily because it's a lot easier, but it just shifts your gears and gets you to focus on a different aspect of life. And I'm
Yeah,
more being well-rounded.
yeah, that's nice. That's good. It's always good to be well-rounded. So, has there been? Oh, I know. How have the arts, like you said, you took art history? How has the arts influenced you to also do science, if at all? Like, did arts influence you?
Not directly, but I will point out that art involves creativity.
Mm.
You're going to paint something or produce a sculpture, requires some creativity. And engineering also requires some creativity.
Mm.
Okay, I mean, if you're an electrical engineer and you're designing a circuit board, you have to figure out where to put the components on the board, and you have to do it in a way that takes up an amount of space, but also allows enough space in the components so that they don't get too hot. They can dissipate heat. There's a lot of creativity in engineering. So taking the art courses educated me about art, and I enjoyed that for its own sake. I don't think that directly translated over to engineering.
Mm.
I don't think. Maybe it did subconsciously.
Awesome.
Just. Mm.
So guys, we are pretty much out of time, but I don't know, Christopher, do you have one more question you want to ask, or?
Nah, I've been saying like all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I was beginning to see that he was running out of them. Of course, if you want to stop the video and just keep talking afterwards, I don't mind answering questions. But it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to speak with you, Christopher, and I hope that I was able to